Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Trader Minute. It's great to have you aboard. My name's Carl. Thanks for tuning in this morning. And let's take a look at the futures here. The futures about 3 points lower is all. Not much going on with the futures today. Now let's talk about the futures for a minute. Oil, gold, silver, everything's. Can you hear me better? Thank you. Let's talk about the futures for a minute. They're down about three or so. Oil, gold, just flat. Everything's kind of flat out there along that front. Um, and typically, when the futures get this way, the market gets this way, where it's especially this year, where it hasn't had a catalyst. Think about the catalyst that we've had this year. We've had bad jobs number. What did the market do? It rallied. It's been one of those years where bad news is good news and good news is bad news. But typically this year, based on uh, the events that we've had in the marketplace, the market has pretty much gone higher. Hey, right now we have no catalyst. There's none catalyst to speak of. Jeff pointed this out yesterday, and we can look at it again today. Here's the economic calendar of events for this week. Okay, well, yesterday was Veterans Day. There was nothing. Okay, today some Fed governors speaking. That's about it. Tomorrow is typically the petroleum report. However, with yesterday being Veterans Day, they pushed it till Thursday, so that typically weekly numbers come out. You've got jobless claims. You're going to have the petroleum reports and the natural gas reports. Those will come out later on Thursday. But there's nothing on tap. And so with this type of an environment, no catalyst to drive the market higher, no bad news out there to drive it higher. That's typically been the case, and it's all been about taper. It's all been about taper, right? And if there's a bad report out there, what happens to the chances of taper? Well, it pushes it down the road. We had a good jobs number the other day. What happened? The market sold off big time, but then in turn and rallied. Did a big time turnaround based on, there was some positive, what they figured was some positive news for the marketplace. Now, the jobs number wasn't great, but it was much better than expected. Okay, much better than expected, and that's why we saw that happen. So with no catalyst lined up in the future, there's not likely to be a lot of direction, and typically the market's just going to weaken if this is the case. All right. As far as any type of earnings announcements, there's a couple. We talk about these. I bring them up right now, just the ones that we talk about in here occasionally. D.R. Horton, they reported another home builder. The home builders just got crushed based on the higher interest rates. Well, they report their DHI, their D.R. Horton, reports came in line. Revenues were slightly higher. Dish talked about that just a little bit yesterday. They topped by a quarter. Revenues were higher. They're up pre-market. Okay. Let's take a look at our position pre-market here. We've got about 4 minutes before the market opens. It's going to open fairly flat this morning. There's a pretty wide spread, almost a 40-cent spread here between the bid and the ask. So it depends on where that comes out of the gate. Right now, it could open slightly higher, it could open slightly lower. We'll see where that comes out of the gate this morning. Okay. Now, yesterday's top three. Tesoro this morning is trading up. Well, let's take that. Well, this is another one of the widespread deals. The spread's about 70 cents. So we'll see where that opens this morning. And then also we had Pay. Let me put that in here. Now this is Verifone, right? And same thing, a big spread here. So the spreads are pretty wide pre-market. We'll see where these stocks come out. It can open slightly lower to slightly higher on Verifone, on the Pay. And then we had Jinko Solar, JKS. Now I've been digging around most of the morning trying to figure out what's going on with solar stocks because they're all down across the board. It's not a JKS thing, it's a solar thing. The news that I could find was somewhat positive. The earnings is coming up about next week for most of the big solar companies out there. coming up next week and the week after. But they're down pretty much across the board this morning, and that's, to me, that's par for the course for solars. It seems like whenever you get a good signal for solars, and I didn't want to put, for that reason, I thought, do I dare put another solar on the top three? Because it seems like every time when they're lined up, just that looks just right to me. It looks like they're going to go higher. Something comes out and they go the other direction. It's I don't know if I could trade that way if you, because with solars it seems like you go one way and it's going to go the other way. If it looks like it's going to be a perfect entry one side, it goes the other way. And so far, for me and solars, that's just about the case. So you're not going to see me putting solars on a any type of a list anytime soon, or trading them anytime soon, because it's just a volatile group. And I'll keep digging into that news. Maybe someone's seen it out there. I couldn't find it. I looked into all the news today on a whole bunch of solars out there, trying to find something, a driver somewhere in solars. I couldn't see it, but they're down across the board today as far as First Solar, Canadian Solar, Jinko Solar, JA Solar, the ETF, TAN. You're going to look at all of those and they're going to be down. All right. Now, as far as analysts go, I always look through the analyst comments. It's pretty quiet. I think the analysts like a little bit more direction in the market too. It helps them, determine which way stock prices are going to move. Now, they're going to tell you they do look at fundamentals, right? They're supposed to be looking at fundamentals for the most part, these analysts. But a good trend on a chart can always help them as well, if you're asking me. Okay, just a few stocks to mention. We had Intel. They were downgraded to neutral. FDX. Now FDX, I'm going to go over here to stock charts. And let's look at FDX. So they've had a nice bump here recently. So technically, you look at this, it's gone up to about the 135 range. Wow, from 115, that's a pretty big push higher. All right, now it's come down to the 130 mark, trying to push up off of 130. Now that's a level technically you'd want this to hold. If it can't hold 130, then it's coming back into the 125 range, maybe into the lower band range. But right now, there's no big change in trend. There's no likely. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Jeff found it. YGE earnings this morning. So the whole solar group's down based on that. Solar's going to be volatile for a while. They're going to start announcing earnings, and most of the earnings that I found on solar stocks are coming up next week. So it's going to be a very volatile stock, and if they react, it must have been some pretty bad earnings on YGE to push a whole group down like that. So FedEx, the number you want this to hold is a 130 mark. All right, now the markets are just opening up. So I just want to run over and we'll take a look at where Capital One is this morning. They're flat, about 4 cents up. Okay, let's look at, as we were just talking solars, look at JKS. It hasn't started trading yet. I will come back to this. Okay, and then, well, at least here on stock charts, it's not trading. And then the other one we talked about yesterday was Tesoro. And Tesoro opened up pretty flat this morning, about 3 cents down is all. And that's this early on. It's not doesn't mean a whole lot this early on, but we'll take it. And then we also talked about Verifone Systems. Okay, same thing, fairly flat, down 7 cents. There's no big gap here. Now, that's a positive, but it's so early in the day to say what these stocks are going to do. Let's go back to JKS and see if they're trading now. Yeah, down $1.50. So if I go through the group, some of the stocks here. Now, the ETF, the solar ETF, is TAN. Back in my day trading days, this was Tandy, Radio Shack. Well, now it's a solar ETF. They're down as well, about 3%. And then you look at kind of the high flyer over the years in the solar stocks has been First Solar. And it's percentage-wise, this is down the least of them. Okay, but First Solar down slightly as well. And then JASO down about almost 4% here, and then SunPower down as well. Now, one of the places that I like to go and look at sectors and see how they're moving. And it's been a while since I've showed this. There's a website out there called Bar Chart. This is a very informative website. Jeff's brother writes some articles. John writes articles, and they appear here from time to time. But when you go to Bar Chart in here, I'm going to click on stocks, and then I'm going to click on sectors. Then on the left-hand side here, I'm going to click on sectors change. Because in the marketplace, there's always the big money's always moving around, and where it goes, no one's going to tell you where they're buying. For the most part, the big funds they like to kind of fly under the radar whenever they can, but there's ways to be able to track that based on the volumes and so forth. I don't know what exactly they're looking for. I mean, there's screens and stuff look for here, but they do a really good job of it. You can see the very top group right here is solars. I looked at this yesterday. I looked in the stocks in there. I'm going to click on this. I looked at the stocks in here yesterday, and there's a lot of nice companies in here. But once you look in, so right here is the solar group. Right, here's Canadian. You got JKS, Trina, down the city, Solar City, JA Solar, First Solar, and so forth. Okay, but the great thing about here is you click on performance, and what this does is give you a 1 month. Oops, right here. A 1 month view. I mean, look at Canadian Solar up 40, almost 49%, 44%. JK Solar, 26%. This is the last month. First Solar up 45%. Right down here. 45%, 44%. Let's say. That doesn't mean just run out and buy these stocks. Okay. If you get a good signal and you see it's in a hot group like this, odds are they can keep going as the institutional money starts flowing into this area. But based on news, fundamentals can change, and that's what happened this morning with solars. So this was it's a hot-looking group. Now it's going to change a little bit today in here. Not a whole lot. We'll see how the overall this day turns out for the solar companies. But right now they're down. Based on one of their stocks and one of their partners in here, partners in solar anyways, off a bad earnings announcement. Okay, so enough on solars. Okay, so Costco, we talked about Costco recently. Costco got a downgrade this morning to a neutral by UBS. And there we go. But if you're looking at this technically, which I like to do, looking at this technically, 120 was a pretty decent level for it. That's a multiple of 10, right? Multiples of 10 tend to be the strongest level of support / resistance. Well, it broke out of 120. And most of the time when stocks break an area of support like this, or even resistance on the downside, they will come back and retest that level to see if it holds. Not every time, but a lot of times that's the case. So technically what this has done is broke 120 right here just about a week ago, and we haven't had any type of a retest yet. We'll see where this next level holds, see if a higher high holds up in this range. Now if it doesn't make it back to 120 and finds some support here around 122 or 120 and a half, something like that, that's even better. Even a better opportunity to be able to play this higher. So far, the downgrade hasn't thrown any of the technicals off for Costco, and I think this is probably going to go higher, but there's no as far as right now, unless I saw a nice reversal into the close today, we're pushing back up off of the 122 mark, off of the 7-day moving average on some volume today, with a nice strong candlestick. That's what I'd be looking for an entry early on like this. It's down 88 cents, but technically it's still fine. And then Bed Bath Beyond, they got an upgrade from UBS to a buy. So here, where this is this is very close to triggering a TrendRider bull signal. And what do we look for in TrendRider bull signal? Well, you can see we got them. Let me back out of this and get the right template in there. For the TrendRider bull signal, we want the stock, and TrendRider bear is just kind of the opposite here, but we got stock in an uptrend. This is an important factor here. You want a stock in an uptrend. Now you're looking for something like this and try to play that next leg higher. And right now we've got very tight contracted Bollinger Bands. The Bollinger Bands, how tight they are. Look what happened last time they got tight. Okay. Whenever they get fairly tight, there's going to be a breakout one side or the other. And that's what you got to wait for. Is a breakout going to come down like it tried to right here recently? Is it going to come down and break into the lower band? Or is it going to go up and break into the upper band? Well, right now the odds are it's going to break into the upper band, but it's not quite there yet. Okay. So you want this to push, for me, push up above the 44 mark here. Maybe it's going to happen today, maybe not. And then get into that upper Bollinger Band, and then you'd like an RSI rising, which, early on like this, it's just flat. And then the Bollinger Band width, which is our indicator down below, starting to rise. So this is not rising yet, so we're not sold on an entrance right here. But right now, this is a stock to watch for, as maybe get that next push higher into that upper Bollinger Band. Okay. Now, the thing about when the Bollinger Band gets tight, the moves can be quite dramatic. Okay. Here's where the Bollinger Bands got tight last time, right through this range. And look at the moves. Pretty explosive moves to catch. And that's one of the things that TrendRider entrances can catch, are those type of moves. Okay, so just going to run back over, take one last look at our position here. Capital One, still just flat. It's down 16 cents. Now, what we want here is to put this thing to push back below the 7, break below that 69 mark, and start to push lower from there. FirstEnergy. Yeah, now this was on my top 3 the other day, and they came out with some news that they were selling 11 of their hydro plants. And it wasn't taken very well. This has dropped right back to the 36.50 mark. There's been some support here before December expiration. The question is, what do I think of it recovering before the December expiration? Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Whenever news comes out, what that changes for the company is fundamentals. So it's the technicals. We'll see if they're going to stay in play right here. But 36.5. This might come down here to the lower Bollinger Band around the 36 mark. But you can see what a tight channel this has been in for quite some time. If you look at this channel here, basically between 36 and just over 37.5, it's been in this tight channel. A break higher, typically these stocks can really take off. And if they get some news, they can go the other direction. Now, as far as news goes, normally it's going to be 50-50 over time. You'll have some that go against you and you'll have some that go your way. I mean, this stock could have gone up to 50 or 40 based on just the opposite kind of news. But in the case the news went against us, well, against that trade and down in this lower range. Look for it to hold a 36.5 mark. It might come back to 36. A break of these levels right here would be really bearish for it. since it would be breaking out of a channel that it's been in since August. Okay. So with a fundamental shift like that, it's going to be tough to say if it's going to come back by December, but that's what I'd look for. A break of 36 would be ultra bearish. If it can hold 36.5, it's got some hope. Okay. So here's Tesoro. They're pushing up 67 cents right now. This was one of the top 3 yesterday. We talked about, had a really good looking trend rider bull setup. 54 to the 56 range. We could go here with a price target on this. Now you can ride this with the upper Bollinger Band. Okay. The upper Bollinger Band would just ride it till it closes back on the inside as well. All right, and then we also talked about PAY. And they're pushing up this morning as well. Another nice move here. So this is breaking out above the resistance level there. Now the volume here is, I will zoom in on that. It's really, really skewed. There's a giant volume bar just off to the right of the screen over here, which makes this look really tiny, but there's actually some pretty good volume yesterday on that entry signal that we saw. All right. Okay, everybody, I will be on chat with you all day long. If you have any questions, comments, go ahead and chat those in. If you want to reach me personally, more private chat, you can just send me an email. It's Carl, and that's with a C, at TraderMinute.com, and then Jeff as well. Jeff at TraderMinute.com will both be able to answer any questions you might have. All right, have a great day, and we'll talk to you a little bit later on. Thanks. Bye-bye.